Okay, Steve Hansen is to stand down from his All Black coaching role after the 2019 World Cup. He would have been in charge for 8 years by that point. He took over after the 2011 victory and guided them to retain the title in 2015 here in England. They've dominated the Rugby Championship for 7 out of 8 years. That competition has been run. I think South Africa are the only team to have taken the Rugby Championship out of the All Blacks' hands in the last 8 years. So this is probably the most dominant period in All Black history with an 88% win rate. Um, I think all time they're more about 75, 78% win rate. So in the last 7, 8 years, their win rate has been higher than it ever has been. I think he's been the most successful coach. And this is the most successful team. Maybe not the best team of players put out on each individual match, but this All Black squad has been the greatest All Black squad, I think, of all time. Definitely in the professional era, this is the best All Black squad. Um, the All Blacks regularly fell flat early on in the professional era. They would get to semi-finals and finals, and then they couldn't quite get over the line at World Cups or Tri Nations. They would falter at times. What Steve Hansen has done is turned them not quite into immortals, but pretty close. However, a couple of recent defeats to Ireland in the last couple of years, including this autumn, have raised questions about the All Blacks, especially the manner of their defeat in the second of their defeats against Ireland in the autumn. I think that would have raised some questions about some of the tactics and playing depth of the top level of the All Blacks. The Irish defence nullified the All Blacks very, very, very easily in Dublin. The closeness that England got as well would have raised some concerns, considering that this is an England side that's in flux and is not on form. And there were some signs in the Rugby Championship this year that there were some cracks appearing. This All Black side, I think, has peaked and are vulnerable going into the World Cup next year. They will go far in the World Cup, yes, but they are vulnerable. They're not at their peak performance. There's a few issues that need refining, which are glimmers of hope for the other nations that this All Black side is human. Steve Hansen has been there for 8 years, but he's got to find someone who can replace Dan Carter and Richie McCaw. Now, Brodie Retallick is a good Richie McCaw replacement in the forward pack. Is it the Barrett brothers? I mean, are they going to be the new Dan Carter? I mean, they've had a lot of star fly halves who haven't actually had a lot of caps. A lot of the Kiwis end up playing in France and England, and therefore are eligible for selection. They have very strict selection rules, much like England, where you have to be based in New Zealand to play for New Zealand. But I think Steve Hansen has got the best out of this team. Obviously, I think he wants to finish on a high, and I think he's set the 2019 World Cup as his end point with this team. I don't think he's going to retire from coaching. I think he's going to seek a fresh challenge. It's going to be interesting to see who the All Blacks bring in to replace Steve Hansen. So that's going to be interesting, who the replacement's going to be. But there's a lot of coaches at the end of the World Cup who are changing direction. Joel Schmidt with Ireland, for example, is standing down from the Ireland job. So could there be a straight swap there? Considering that they are very friendly off the field, but on the field, obviously they're very, very competitive. Could Joel Schmidt be going to the All Blacks and Steve Hansen going to the Emerald Green of Ireland? That could be an interesting subplot, as Steve Hansen has coached in the Six Nations before. Eddie Jones, his future is somewhat uncertain post the World Cup, about 2021. But that's still not far past the World Cup. So there are some coaches who are changing roles or stepping down from roles after this tournament. So that's going to be interesting who replaces Steve Hansen. But his record at the All Blacks is outstanding. 88% win rate. He stayed in charge for 8 years. He's won that World Cup. He's retained that World Cup. And I do believe the goal is, even with a slightly weaker All Black side than I think 2015 or 2011 is to win a third World Cup in a row and prove the doubters wrong that, to win back-to-back tournaments, you can do it. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your comments below, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.